Hey everybody, this is Scott from Lawrence in Therapy, and welcome back to day 7 of the Time Management Challenge course. And so today is about skin in the game. It's a little bit different from yesterday's, which is about like how to make it real. We talked about that particular story, but in this one, with this quote, I'll just go to it. Here we go. To have skin in the game is to have incurred risk, monetary or otherwise, by being involved in achieving a goal. That's a quote by quote from Wikipedia. The whole point of that is that a lot of people might think they're in business, or a lot of people might think that they're moving towards the goal because they have information. So a coach that I had once, it was a funny thing, like he said to me, and it was worth the 20 grand, but basically when he said to me that to know and not yet do is to not know, and by that metric you don't know anything. And I'm like, whoa. But like what he was trying to do for me is like that he understands like how much time people waste, and that he's never seen anybody succeed who didn't incur risk, because incurring risk means that you're committed, which means that the brain will do anything to make you survive that risk that you just joined. And that's how it works. If not, then that's where the person basically just meanders almost indefinitely. So what do we mean like with risk? There's this metric of gun versus goose. So it's something that I really want you to ask yourself seriously. Have you committed to a point of no return where you know what your central goal is, you know what you want to do over the next 45 days, perhaps you know what your plan is, or you need to ask. You know how to work out the action steps and how to put them into code. Are you at the point of no return? Like, what's an action you can do? Is it do the video? Is it hire the venue? Is it put out the ad? Often what I do when I want to write an ebook, like say if it's a fairly big one, is I sell it before I've written it, and then I have a release date. I've done it many times. We'll do like $600 or $700 in the backyard, or $1,000 in the backyard off ebook sales, and I'm like, oh, I've got a week to get this thing out. So that's the point of no return once I've taken money for it. The same as like once I sign up for a course and then sort of the money's exchanged hands. Money is basically a mind game. And people who don't incur a risk tend not to be able to create it because they need to commit to something. The same as like if you're not saving a particular amount each week, or if you're not kind of committed to something that you need to survive, then the chances that you'll succeed are like basically zero. And that's get a job time. So point of no return is when you do something that incurs risk versus just a fantasy. And so a fantasy is fine, like, we watch them all the time on television or by reading books. But if that's not what you're here for, then what are you going to do that puts you past the point of no return? There's deciding now, which is not to say like the point of no return is a thing that can occur later, because the habits in the brain are very, very powerful. So there's a story that I like to tell about like when my brother Philip came to my shop for or my clinic for lunch once. We had sushi, and then he was saying like have you like the little soy sauce containers that look like a fish, and I was just dumping on everything. And he basically said, have you tried tasting the food without just chucking soy sauce all over it? I'm like, nope. And so then I thought, all right, well, the next time I get sushi, I'll just like get the soy sauce containers and just chuck them in the drawer. And so I did. So then I thought I hardly ever go there, and they only ever give me 2 soy sauce containers every time that I go. But then when he came back 5 weeks later to do lunch again, he's gone like, do you want to have some sushi? And they didn't give him any soy sauce, and he's gone, do you have any? I'm like, yeah, but you're the one who said not to have it. And he's like, well, I haven't had it in the last 5 weeks or so. And so I thought like, all right, well, I've got some in my drawer. And so I look in my drawer and I start pulling them out, and I thought, well, by now I've got to have 6 or 7 of these soy sauce containers. There was over 100. Because it becomes habit. I went once, then I went once, and he's gone, how many times have you been there? Like, I don't know, just a bit. It's like, did you ask for like 100 in one go? I'm like, no, they only have given me 2. So he's gone, all right, so you've been like 50 times. It becomes habit. So anything you do now is what you're going to do later, because this is how the brain works. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So decide now versus never. So if you don't decide now, just like in the story that I was talking about yesterday, just don't worry about it then. Just don't do it. Ever. Just never do it unless you decide to have skin in the game. Zoom out of that a little bit. Accountability, which is basically, who are you working with? Who are you announcing this to? How are you doing accountability? Have you announced maybe like a room or a seminar or something that you're doing in the future, or an online course, or have you announced an ebook that's going to get released? Do you have an accountability buddy? Are you basically submitting your KPIs each week in the program? Or are you basically just kind of, again, just fantasizing about it and going like later? So accountability versus private fantasy. So a private fantasy basically being that it's never actually going to happen because it's just in the head. And then sacrifice, as in what are you actually willing to give up? Are you willing to give up some bad habits? Are you willing to give up some junk food, some YouTube time, falling for whatever like latest trend is on the news? Or are you willing to focus on what it is that's actually going to get you there? Because there has to be sacrifice. Like, it has to be paid for with something. Is it coffee you're going to give up for the expense, or is it kind of like a time waste that you can give up? Is it complaining? Is it being negative? Is it beating yourself up that you'll sacrifice, that you'll give up? Versus instant gratification, which is, I need everything right now. And someone who, if they're like one of those I need everything now people, they can't basically build anything of a certain size, or they can't buy property, they can't build an online course, they can't do a seminar, they can't build a web page, they can't do one-on-one clients, because everything is instant gratification. They can't basically feed their needs and then kind of feed the other half of the needs later. As in, like, feed your need for service, contribution, then later on feed your need to receive, feed your need to kind of get rewards or distractions later on. Deadlines. And this is important, that you've got to use that panic monster from within, not from without. Don't let someone else put the panic monster on you, but bring it from within, and then life starts. Pick the date, book the venue, announce the course, sell the tickets, and then build the thing, and you'll get it done. Versus never. If there's no pressure, nothing's pushing you throughout the day to do it. You need a list so that you know that you've got to be in bed at a particular time, you've got to have a particular standard of nutrition in your body, a particular standard of hydration in your body. That list has to be completed by a particular time of the day. You've got to like basically surrender to the block time, those 4-hour blocks of code, to get it done. You've got to ask questions instead of just suffering in silence. And then on the other side, there's with accountability, what is public versus what is peer. So with the public stuff, advertising, that's something that you put out. So with accountability, when you advertise your program, you've made it real and you've got skin in the game, because when people start buying your stuff, then you have to deliver a product. It's one of those laws we have. Promise a product deadline. So this could be like an ebook, a course, a seminar or something, but this is something that you just put out publicly to everybody. Promise a product deadline. It gets you moving. Wins and gratitude. Like, talk about, like, you know, what did you achieve this month, this week, or this year? And express gratitude for your challenges and your rewards and the people in your life. That's something you can do for accountability publicly. But then there's also the other side, which is the peer stuff, which, again, to your peers, advertising, product deadlines, wins and gratitude. But there's another part as well, which is weekly key point indicators. This is kind of like your peers are more kind of like, it's your coach, or it's the people who are in the same industry, the same group as you, that you're basically submitting, like, how did you go with the steps this week? Did you struggle? Did you have like an energy crisis this week, like with actual energy to get through? Or was there something, did a client give you a hard time and you needed some support? So submitting this for accountability not only gets you coaching and feedback through it, but it actually keeps you moving as well. Questions, which is again for your peers and coach. Make sure that, like, anytime something goes wrong, you write down what went wrong so that you can bring it up to the next coaching session. Stretches, which is this is something like where you declare it to be with a stretch. You know that there's something that you need to do better, and so you're going to make it your focus this week to stretch that particular area. It might mean that, like, I'm going to make sure that before I do my Facebook videos, I'm going to spend an extra 2 minutes writing the headline to make sure that people watch it, and make sure I put a call to action in every video, a call to action under every headline. Or it could mean that, like, once I've written it, I'm going to pause for less time to make sure that, like, I just hit the record button and start talking, because version 1's better than version none. Emotions. These are things you can share with your coach and with your peers. Tell people in the group how you feel. So, like, that's like the vulnerability, because others may feel the same as you and they may have a solution, or they may have empathy for you. This is not so much something that you might want to share with the public, but it's something you want to share with your peers who actually understand your goal, why your goal is so important. And then gaps, as in, like, anything that you don't know that you need to know. This is something you can share with your peers. So there's, like, this big difference between how many things should you be sharing with just everybody, the public, and then what should you be sharing, like, with your peer group or with your coach. Next, mindfulness, if that's something you've... Well, let's zoom back out again. So, what we're looking at here, wherever you are, be there totally. So this is a quote by Eckhart Tolle that I like, because basically with wherever you are, be there totally. A lot of people that, like, when it comes to the code stuff, or, like, you know, them doing their creative work, doing their organizational work, their decisions, or they're extroverted, they're in this grass is always greener mentality. Like, wouldn't it be better to be together with people? Wouldn't it be better to be alone? Wouldn't it be better to be more focused, or wouldn't it be better to be more relaxed? Be in the state that you're in, because you will get the reverse. It's like when you're breathing in, you shouldn't have any anxiety about the fact you're not breathing out while you're breathing in, because you're just doing that one. And then when you're breathing out, you shouldn't have anxiety about the not breathing in, because you're just breathing out at that moment. There is the summer followed by the winter, followed by the summer, folled by the winter. Yes, there's another 2 seasons, but it's a cycle. So because there are cycles, like, the older you get, the more you see these cycles come around. As in, like, there are sales cycles that come around. There's the 45-day thing that comes around. There's, like, your 4 quarters of the year, and your 8 parts we break that into, that they come around 8 times per year. Be in the one you're in, be in the part of it you're in. In another video this week, like, we're talking more specifically about how to run, with an online course, how to run a 3-layer system that you'll see over 6 weeks. How to make sure that you're getting in new leads, how to make sure that you're building trust in a brilliant way. I'll show exactly how to do that. And then how to make sure that you're making really great sales, and then how to deliver a really great product as basically a calendar over the 45 days. And this 45 days, or let's say just over 6 weeks, is something that you can repeat 8 times a year, and you can have 4 weeks off at the end of the year. You do it, like, you know, you have a month off after running this 6-week program 8 times, but there's 3 layers to it, and that's why it needs to be written down. So wherever you are, just be in the part you're in, and even if, like, you feel overwhelmed, it's like, it's okay, just be in the part that you're in right now, because you're not in the other weeks yet, you're just in the week that you're in. So you are the sky, everything else is just the weather. So it's kind of like things do come and go. As in, it could be, you might get like a really trolly styled, like, student or customer or somebody. You might get somebody complain, and then you'll get some praise. No matter what state you're in, you're going to get another one. You're going to get something different. And then nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. So this is what I want you to think of when I show you this 45-day plan of how to run an online course. Because if you're doing it, there's a lot of steps, but you're not doing all of the steps at once. You just have to trust that this is why it all has to be written down, this 3-layer system of the free group, the cheap group, and then the more expensive group. Because if there's particular things you need to be doing on particular weeks, and if you do it, it will work. If you don't do it, well, then it starts to fall apart. But you need to be doing the whole plan. And if you remember, like with Alice in Wonderland, where the Chester Cat's basically asking, Alice in Wonderland, she's asking, where should I go next? And he asks back, well, that depends. Where do you want to go? And she's like, I don't know. He's like, well, then any road will do then. So either you want to do this specific thing and you decide now that you're going to do it, or just any road will do. If you want to basically take control of your life and be more deliberate, you've got to follow this system, and if you do it, you'll get to where you want to be. So more people are unhappy because they set themselves a goal that's too small and they achieve it, more so than people who achieve or set themselves a big goal and don't achieve it. Most people are setting their goals out of alignment, so that it's not in alignment with themselves, so that it's not something necessarily that's going to light them up, because they haven't done the pre-work first to work out within the program or something. They haven't done the pre-work to work out what's genuinely going to make me happy. How am I going to get my passion, my alignment, my energy, and my flow? So there's another program that we'll talk to you about at a later date, about if you're building an online course. We kind of call this like a level 3 system, because like to turn your finished funnel into a 6-figure asset, it's the kind of thing that it asks a lot of you, and it asks a lot of trust. And we don't expect everybody to join this program, because not only is it like it's something like where you really have to trust yourself, and you have to kind of run at it and be really honest and submit your stuff like quite frequently to make the most of it. If you're someone who hasn't seen one-on-one clients yet, I would recommend like you talk to us about that, because seeing one-on-one clients is really, it's a level 1 kind of a challenge. Doing a seminar or a workshop is more of a level 3 challenge. This is about the level 3 challenge, which is to turn it into an online course. We'll see you tomorrow.